Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Thursday. Greetings and salutations. We're hanging out for the next 3 hours here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our video stream live on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. However, wherever, whenever you're catching the program, thanks for being part of the audience. We appreciate you here on 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuy will be along in a bit. Brendan Rosinski is off today. 3 hours of sports talk for you. We're here until 6 o'clock. We've got two great guests. We got lots of football to talk about, and we're looking forward to having a really fun show. The Chiefs and the Ravens play on Sunday. We'll be looking ahead to that. The Chiefs actually don't fear Derrick Henry in ways that so many teams have over the course of his future Hall of Fame career. We'll talk a little bit on the show about why that is. And also look at what the Chiefs can do to try and contain Lamar Jackson, because there's really not any stopping this iteration of Lamar Jackson. People that don't think he's gotten better, like improved as a passer, as a player, as he's gone along in his career, I don't know what you're watching. The Lamar Jackson in 2025 is better than the Lamar Jackson from earlier in his career. And he's had some pretty big games against the Chiefs. But Chiefs got the blueprint, and they have the pieces, I believe, to try and do something similar to what the Lions were able to do in their win over the Ravens in Baltimore on Monday night. So we'll talk a little bit about that matchup, the Chiefs versus Derrick Henry, the Chiefs versus Lamar Jackson. There is college football coming up on Saturday, and man, I did something I typically try to avoid, particularly when things aren't going well for a team, and that would be underselling it when it comes to the Kansas State Wildcats. I did something I don't usually do. I waded in to the fetid swamps of the message boards. And man, people are mad. People are so mad. People are ready to burn it all down in the Little Apple. And look, I get it, man. I get it. But what if K-State wins on Saturday? And, like, if there's any part of this Kansas State team that's who we thought they could be, they should win on Saturday at home, off a bye, against a UCF team that is still super young. That's a game Kansas State should win. What if they do? We have people saying they're not going to win another game the rest of the season. People in our social media comments, people on the text line think this is going to be a 1-11 football team. Maybe, I guess. Like, we'll see. That's why they play the games. But what if they win? What could that do for the rest of the season? Would a win on Saturday be righting the ship, or would a win on Saturday be prolonging the inevitable? We'll get into that with regards to K-State football this week. And, yeah, we'll do a little baseball today as well, because Royals lost last night. Stephen Kolek, another quality start, didn't matter. Royals couldn't get much going on offense, except for one guy. We all knew that a rookie sensation swinging a hot left-handed bat was going to at least provide some optimism this September going into next season. We just had the wrong guy. Carter Jensen's the truth, man. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. We'll look ahead to tonight's series finale in L.A. against the Angels. 4 more Royals games remaining this season, the last of them against the Angels tonight. Another 8:30 pregame, or 8:38 first pitch, so 8 o'clock pregame coverage tonight here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. We've got two great guests today, as I mentioned. We got a lot of audio to bring you, but we have two great guests on the show today. We are going to hear from Rick Peterson of TopSports.news. Pistol will join us at the bottom of this hour for the local sports spotlight. Looking forward to talking to Rick Peterson. There is plenty to discuss, not just the doings that have transpired on the various high school and local college playing fields, but also Keisha releasing the classifications for 2025-26 and the football classifications for the next 2 years. Noteworthy locally, Highland Park moving down to 4A for football for the next two cycles, or the next 2-year cycle. Paravel will go back down to 8-man after 2 years spent in 11-man football. So those are the city moves of note. We'll get Pistol's reaction to that as well. Rick Peterson coming up bottom of this hour for the local sports spotlight. Also joining us on the show today at 5:25 this afternoon, the great Mitch Holthus, voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, courtesy of Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. We'll chat with Mitch about the first win of the year for the Chiefs and get his thoughts on the matchup against the Ravens coming up on Sunday. That is a game you will hear on our sister station, the Big 94.5 Country. Of course, the Royals will be in action at the same time, playing their regular season finale. So Royals baseball on 580 on Sunday, Chiefs football over on our sister station, Country, or excuse me, the Big 94.5 Country. So we'll, of course, clarify that as we go along and watch our socials. WIBW News on Facebook, 580 Sports Talk on X, 580 Sports Talk on Blue Sky, and we'll let you know where you can hear what game. We got a lot of football on the air on Sunday. A lot. So we're excited for that. Also, you will hear later on in the show today from Matt Nagy and Steve Spagnuolo, the coordinators for the Kansas City Chiefs. Both spoke today, and you're going to hear from both of them. Also, there is high school football in the area tonight. So in the 5 o'clock hour, we'll bring you my conversation with the head coach of the Topeka West Chargers, Trey Parker. Chargers at home tonight, taking on Lansing at a Hummer Sports Park. Consider it a little taste of the 580 Preps Coaches Club, which, of course, we will bring you tomorrow as a preview for all of the Friday night games in week 4 of this high school football season in the state of Kansas. Coaches Club tomorrow, but you get a little teaser of the Coaches Club because there is a game tonight, Topeka West and Lansing. So we'll hear from Trey Parker, the former Washburn Ichabod and third-year head coach of the Topeka West Chargers. That's coming up in the 5 o'clock hour as well. So we are jam-packed today, but that doesn't mean we don't have room to hear from you. You are, as always, invited and encouraged to be a part of the program. The text line is 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. You can also get at us in the live chat on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. If you're watching live on YouTube right now, there is a live chat feature. Make use of it. Interact with your fellow listeners. It's a great way to grow the 580 Sports Talk community. You can also interact with yours truly and your hosts as we go along throughout the show today. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Jump in the chat and say hello. I will say hello to everybody who is in the chat early on today. Hello to Vance. Mark H. is in today. The Jayhawker and Andrew also in early today. Appreciate all of you. Look forward to hearing from you and everyone else who filters into the 580 Sports Talk YouTube stream live chat as we go along today. The Kansas City Chiefs take on the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday at Arrowhead Stadium. And when you think about the Baltimore Ravens, you think about their former MVP quarterback, Lamar Jackson, two-time MVP quarterback, Lamar Jackson. And you think about Derrick Henry, their future Hall of Fame, one-of-one running back. There's a conversation to be had, and I don't know that we've got enough time to do it here, but I think there's an argument to be made that given what the running back position has become and how disposable it feels like running backs are in the modern NFL, Derrick Henry might be the last of his kind. The last of the 300 carry a year sort of running back. And I think the game loses a little bit if running back becomes a bit more of a recyclable position. And that's not to say there aren't great running backs in the NFL. Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley. There are great players, and there will be others who come to the league and that are great players. But the workhorse running back, the guy that we're just going to feed him. He's getting the ball 30 times. Do something about it. How many of those guys are in the NFL anymore? Derrick Henry kind of feels like the last of a dying breed. Anyway, I guess we did have time for that conversation. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't. Maybe you think I'm overreacting. But the point is, Derrick Henry's special. Derrick Henry is one of one. And early in his career, Derrick Henry torched the Kansas City Chiefs. Remember the big game he had against them in the wild card round of the playoffs in the 2017 postseason, January of 2018, the final game before the Mahomes era began. Everybody remembers that game for you can remember it for a lot of different reasons. You can remember it as the game where Marcus Mariota threw a touchdown pass to himself. You can remember it as the game where Travis Kelce had to leave in the first half because of a concussion, and it completely short-circuited the Chiefs' offense when they had a 21-3 lead. You can remember it as a game where Derrick Johnson got called for roughing the passer because he hit Marcus Mariota too hard. When I really think about it, I think that's the worst call I've ever seen in an NFL game. Honest to God. Roughing the passer on Derrick Johnson when he came through unblocked on a blitz and just dropped Mariota, and Mariota lost the ball and the Chiefs recovered, and they called roughing the passer. I'm still upset about it. It was nonsense. Anyway, what you maybe don't remember, or maybe have tried to block out as a Chiefs fan, is that Derrick Henry had a 100-plus yard game. He was unbelievable in that game. He was also really, really good against them in 2018 as well. In the 2018 regular season, he had a pretty big game against them. But the modern history of the Chiefs against Derrick Henry is actually pretty impressive. And when I say the modern history, what I'm really saying is Steve Spagnuolo's defenses have bottled up largely Derrick Henry. Bob Sutton defenses, not so much. I'm sure that surprises nobody to hear. But Spags' defenses have done well against Derrick Henry. Go back to the AFC Championship game, 2019 AFC Championship game, when Henry was still in Tennessee. Henry carried 19 times in that game and did score a touchdown, but he only gained 69 yards. Less than 4 yards per carry in that AFC Championship game. In the regular season, back in 2021, you may remember that game as the low point of that season for the Chiefs, certainly the low point for Patrick Mahomes and the offense. They got smoked by Tennessee, 27-3. And Derrick Henry threw a touchdown pass in that game on a trick play. He's got like 4 career touchdown passes on trick plays. But was he dominant running the ball? Not by any stretch of the imagination. He carried it 29 times, but only gained 86 yards. Again, less than 4 yards per carry. Actually, you're talking less than 3 yards per carry in that game. Since Henry has been, well, check that. There was one more meeting when Henry was with Tennessee. Maybe you remember this one. It was a primetime game. I want to say it was Sunday night, but it might have been Monday night. And Tennessee had to start Malik Willis at quarterback and ran a high school offense for the better part of the night and still took the Chiefs to overtime. Oh, my God. It was one of the most frustrating Chiefs games I can remember watching from this era. Chiefs ended up winning it in overtime, 20-17. Derrick Henry had a 56-yard run in that game. His other 16 carries went for 59 yards. So, again, take out one big run, and the Chiefs on a play-for-play basis slowed down Derrick Henry, and they won that football game. Derrick Henry has only played against the Chiefs once as a Raven. That was the season opener last year. Scored a touchdown on the opening drive, proceeded to not really do anything the rest of the night. 13 carries, 46 yards. Just over 3 yards per carry. So when you total it all up, against Steve Spagnuolo defenses, Derrick Henry has carried the ball 78 times for 316 yards. That is slightly over 4 yards per rush. But if you toss the outlier 56-yard run, which is really only the big run in 4 meetings that Henry's broken off against the Chiefs, it's 75 carries, for 260 yards, which is just barely over 3 yards per tote. That's a pretty good track record that the Chiefs have against Derrick Henry. George Karlaftis spoke with the media yesterday. We played you Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid from yesterday's media availability, but George Karlaftis spoke too. And one of the things that he talked about with regards to slowing down Derrick Henry, I mean, the proof is in the numbers that the Chiefs have kind of had Henry's number. But what Karlaftis said when asked about preparing to play against Derrick Henry, he said, quote, if one guy's out of your gap, he's gone. It's all about being detailed in the run game, executing your assignment, trusting the scheme of the coach and your responsibility, and executing. Filling the gaps, being in the right place. The Chiefs' run defense is pretty good in this. The way Matt Verderame describes it when we have him on the air, he talks about making you play in a phone booth in the running game. Don't give away the edges. Don't let anybody bounce the runs to the outside and give them space to operate in. Play in a phone booth, play between the tackles. And the Chiefs defend the between the tackle run game really, really well. And that happens to be Derrick Henry's bread and butter. The funny thing about Derrick Henry, given his size, you look at him and you think, there stands somebody who you do not want any problems with on like 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1. Why would you do anything but give it to Derrick Henry? But Henry is so big that it almost takes him a while to get going. He's not a guy who just accelerates and has burst through the hole. Now, once he gets through the hole and has space, that's when he starts to become impossible to deal with. That's why the Derrick Henry highlights you see are when he gets into space, it's the long runs. And you think somebody that big should not be moving that fast, that far, pulling away from defenders. But those are the Derrick Henry highlights. He's not a guy that, if you can condense the space around him, is going to bounce it to the outside, or who just needs a sliver and bam, he's got 8 yards. That's not really Derrick Henry's game. So the Chiefs do a good job limiting Derrick Henry in that regard. And so the numbers that he puts up against the Chiefs tend to be pretty pedestrian. So he's not, to me, the boogeyman for the Chiefs defense. He's not the monster that lives under the bed as the Chiefs prepare to take on the Ravens. Lamar Jackson is much closer to that for me, even though he is 1-5 all time against Kansas City, 1-4 against Steve Spagnuolo. He's had some games where he put up some really good numbers. Last year in the season opener, he had 273 yards passing, 122 yards rushing. Chiefs only sacked him once. The game that the Ravens won against the Chiefs, go back to September 19th, 2021. Ravens won that game 36-35. Chiefs were driving for a go-ahead score. Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumbled. I really don't think his Chiefs career was ever quite the same after that game, which is unfair perhaps, but I really do. That kind of feels like the dividing line for Edwards-Helaire. Like there was his Chiefs career before that, and then there was everything after. But in that game, Jackson was really good. 239 through the air, 107 and 2 touchdowns on the ground. He did throw 2 interceptions in that game, but the Chiefs only sacked him once. The games where he's been less effective as a runner, not coincidentally, have been games where he has been sacked more often. The first time that Lamar faced a Steve Spagnuolo defense in Kansas City was that September 22nd game in 2019. That was the 4th and a mile Patrick Mahomes to Tyreek Hill conversion, and the Chiefs ended up winning the game 33-28. Lamar threw for 267 in that game, but he only rushed for 46 yards, and he was sacked 3 times. September 28th of 2020, Chiefs won that game by 2 scores. Lamar only threw for 97 yards on 28 attempts. PU. He rushed for 83 yards on 9 carries, which isn't bad, but the total offense there is not real voluminous, and the Chiefs sacked him 4 times. The AFC Championship game, 2023 AFC title game. Again, the raw passing numbers are fine, 272 yards through the air, but he only had 54 rushing yards, and the Chiefs sacked him 4 times. The difference is pressure. And right now, Lamar Jackson is dealing with pressure at a very high rate. He has been sacked 12 times in 3 games this season, including 7 times by the Lions on Monday night. Now, what the Chiefs do not have, the Lions do have, is Aiden Hutchinson. Right? They do not have and elite edge rush presence. They got Chris Jones, an elite interior pass rush presence. And could that be equally effective? Sure. But they don't have an Aiden Hutchinson to take on a double team and win. Like, Aiden Hutchinson was massacring dudes last week for the Lions. He was awesome. The Chiefs maybe don't have that guy. What they do have is the ability to do what the Lions did last week, which is sit somebody about 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage and say, if you even think about getting outside the pocket, I'm going with you. I think that's Leo Chanel for the better part of Sunday afternoon. I think that's going to be his responsibility. And I think that with his presence and his ability to be effective as a spy, and with Chris Jones's presence and his ability to cave the pocket in, the Chiefs should be able to blunt Lamar's effectiveness as a runner. Now, it used to be as easy as, well, if you take away his legs, he's not a great pocket passer. He's a pretty darn good pocket passer, man. You don't win 2 MVPs if you can't throw. The guy can throw. It's wholly unfair, the knock that Lamar Jackson takes as a passer. He's got a terrific arm. Terrific passer. You see the first touchdown he threw to Mark Andrews on Monday night? That's an awesome throw. Perfect. Right on the money. With 2 defenders in Andrews' hip pocket running that deep out. Throw is perfect from Lamar. He's a great passer. There are demerits against Lamar Jackson that are fair, but this idea that he can't pass is just nonsense. You don't watch the games. Like, you don't watch enough football. You don't know ball if you don't think Lamar can throw. So it's not as simple as, well, we just cut his legs out from under him and the Chiefs are going to be fine because Lamar's not going to beat you with his arm. He's had big games against the Chiefs with his arm. You're not going to stop Lamar Jackson, but it will be critical to contain the scramble threat, particularly on third downs. And I expect the Chiefs to be able to get the Ravens into third down because I think they'll be good against Henry and good against the run on early downs. So the ability to keep Lamar from deflating a defense with an 11-yard scramble on a 3rd down and 8, that's where it gets to be critical that the Chiefs do that. Lamar will get his. He always does. But it's forcing him with pressure to remain in the pocket. That is the outcome you would rather have, certainly. Like, it's pick your poison, but you would probably rather him be throwing to a group of wide receivers that the Chiefs, I think, can cover than having him with his elite scrambling ability, getting out of the pocket and picking up those 3rd downs. We'll take a quick break here on 580 Sports Talk. Later on, you'll hear Steve Spagnuolo. He had some things to say, of course, about the challenge of defending these Ravens. We'll hear from him in the 4 o'clock hour. We'll hear from Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs. He'll join us in the 5 o'clock hour today. Rick Peterson coming up in just a little bit. We are just getting started on this Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Before we move on, we don't have a stat boy on the program to issue corrections like PTI did back in the day. I don't know if they still have a stat boy. I know it's not Tony Reale anymore. I don't know if they still do a stat boy. I haven't watched PTI in like 15 years. But we don't have a stat boy here to correct me, but we need to correct the record. I was thinking of a different Chief play that was a roughing the passer on a quarterback who had the ball still. In that playoff game against the Titans, the ruling that was so nonsensical was there was not a fumble because the forward progress of the player had stopped. Marcus Mariota's forward progress has stopped. Yeah, because Derrick Johnson ran through him like a freight train. There was some backward progress. He got knocked in the next week. But yeah, that's why they ruled no fumble. That's what it was. I knew it was some BS, and I got it conflated with something else. Apparently, my memory's starting to go in my old age as I near my 40s. My memory's starting to go. So I regret the error, not my first. But thank you. I believe it was Andrew in the YouTube comments who pointed that out, and somebody in the text line as well to clarify. Andrew also says, much rather the Chiefs have Derrick Henry with his 4 fumbles in 3 weeks try and beat the Chiefs than Lamar Jackson. That's a weird deal, isn't it? All of a sudden, Derrick Henry can't hold on to the ball. That's why it was so shocking when he fumbled away the game, because it hasn't just been like, oh, he fumbled. These have been like 2 game-turning fumbles. The one against Buffalo week 1 and then the one against the Lions on Monday night. For a guy who, in my head, never fumbles, to all of a sudden have a fumbling issue is kind of wild. I wouldn't bet on that continuing, and fumble luck is always a question mark, but it is something that bears watching. And if the Chiefs can force a field flipping turnover on a fumble by Derrick Henry, that could certainly help swing Sunday's game. We're going to get to Rick Peterson in just a second. I had a quick Royals thought. They lost last night. They're back to 500 with 4 games remaining. Carter Jensen had another hit last night, pinch hit RBI single. That kid is bruising the baseball right now. And what's most encouraging about Jensen is that the strikeouts that look like they might be a substantial problem for him at AAA have not been a problem in the major leagues. He's only striking out in 17% of his plate appearances, which is fine. That's totally fine. Like, league average is around 22, 23%. So he's been better than average at putting the ball in play. And when he puts the ball in play, he spanks it. The kid's got some of the best exit velocities in baseball. It's a small sample. And goodness knows I've been fooled by larger small samples before. First half of MJ Melendez's first big league season had me thinking he was going to be an all-star. I still don't know what happened there. But by far, Carter Jensen has been the most exciting part of this September of baseball for the Royals. And we've gone from, hey, maybe he could be Salvador Perez's caddy next season, to, are we sure Salvador Perez shouldn't be his caddy? Like, it's going to take some doing to keep that kid out of the lineup if he hits the ball that hard, that often. But for a team that needs some in-house offensive solutions, it's very promising that they appear to have one for next year in Carter Jensen. We'll take a quick timeout. When we come back, Rick Peterson joins us for the local sports spotlight here on 580 Sports Talk. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by the great Rick Peterson of TopSports.news. It is the local sports spotlight. We do it every Thursday at this time. Shine a light on Shawnee County High School sports and Washburn University athletics with a man that covers them and knows them better than anyone, Rick Peterson of TopSports.news. He joined us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. Plenty to talk about today, Pistol. I want to start, though, with the fallout from last Friday night's incident in the Highland Park Schlegel football game that saw the two teams have their game called late in the third quarter due to a fight that had broken out. Keisha's ruling is that both teams forfeit their Week 4 game. So Highland Park will not play this Friday night. They have to forfeit their game against Harmon. What can you tell us about what went into Keisha's decision? Is that just kind of a boilerplate ruling, or was that something that Keisha had to come to a decision on?
Well, I would think it was something they had to come to a decision on just because we haven't had too many like that. You might have, a couple kids or maybe even 3 or 4 kids. I haven't seen anything where you had that many kids in that many different skirmishes. And so I think they probably had to sit down and decide it. But I think it's probably a fair rule. I mean, to make them both give up a game now, it really hurts Highland Park. That was going to be a Harmon game that Highland Park was going to win and win easily. Schlegel was most in all likelihood going to lose to Atchison anyway. So it does hurt. It does hurt Highland Park. But I didn't even know what they do about last week's score, and they let that stand. So I don't think anybody will ever. You'll never have a case where everybody agrees, but I think it's probably pretty fair.
Yeah, it's tough to come to a scenario where people don't hurt. And in this scenario, Pistol, there were certainly young men on that Highland Park team that were not involved, that did not leave the bench, that were trying to play peacemaker. And certainly there's also the impact, as one of our listeners points out in the YouTube comments, there's the impact to Harmon, who loses a game. They get a win on the books, but they lose the opportunity to play on a Friday night through no fault of their own. So it's a conclusion that I understand with the respect to actions having consequences, but it is a harsh consequence, and it has knock-on effects that are also difficult. It's just one of those things where there's no easy way to punish people or punish what should be punished.
Well, and in Highland Park's case, I think they were already down the game, from what I've been told.
That's right.
And unless they come up with something, they were already down a game because of the school they were supposed to play in Missouri didn't field a team. So now all of a sudden you're to what, 6 regular season games? Yeah. So it does hurt them, but it was a very, very unfortunate situation. And I hope I never see anything like that again.
Let's move on then with Rick Peterson of TopSports.news, joining us for the local sports spotlight here on 580 Sports Talk. Let's move on to the Week 4 action, looking ahead to some of the games in the area. And we'll start with the game we'll have on Friday night over on our sister station, Country 106.9, our 580 Preps game of the week. Hayden and Wamego. Last year, those two teams played a barn burner in Boomtown. Hayden had a 14-point fourth quarter lead. Hayden scored 17 unanswered to win it on a field goal with 7 seconds to play. Both teams are just about as good as they were last year, so this should be another outstanding matchup.
Yeah, and I think Hayden might have the edge being at home this year, and I like the way Hayden's playing. This is very good for Hayden, regardless of how the game turns out, to get a test. Because they really haven't been seriously tested. Eudora put up a fight, but it was still by halftime it was pretty much decided. So this will be good to get for Bill Arnold's bunch to get a true test.
Other games in the area this week are in Shawnee County. Topeka High had a frustrating loss last Thursday against Wichita Southeast. They open up Centennial League play at home against a much improved Emporia team tomorrow night. Jason Philbeck's team, Pistol, really needs a bounce back.
Yeah, and it is a much improved Emporia team. You know, for a couple years there, that was High's only win was Emporia. And now Emporia's won a couple in a row by, what the last 2 weeks, just like crazy scores. So yeah, High will have to play better than it did last week against Southeast, particularly on the offensive side of the ball.
The Silver Lake Eagles get a test this week as we expand our reach to the county. The Eagles are 1-2. They got their first win of the year last week, knocking off Perry LeCompton. Now they take off a St. Mary's team coming off of a thrilling last-minute win over a much-improved Jeff West squad. This is a fascinating game to open up district play for both Silver Lake and St. Mary's, a big test.
It is, and I don't know how, I couldn't pick a winner on that. I think it will go down to the wire. I think much as the St. Mary's Rossville game did. So I think it'll be a heck of a game.
Washburn Rural was competitive for about 2.5 quarters with that awesome Platte County team out of Missouri before they ultimately succumbed for their first loss of the season last Friday night. Now Rural gets Blue Valley Northwest on the road. That's a 2-1 team. They're coming off of a loss to St. James Academy. How does Rural bounce back against a Husky team that may have lost 2 Division I starting offensive linemen, but still has plenty of talent, especially at the skill spots this year?
Yes, and I think it'll be another tough test for Washburn Rural. In fact, that's tonight already. But I think they can play. I think Rural can play with anybody. They just got to be able to play with them the entire fourth quarter. Like you said, they played really well against Platte County for a while, but then Platte County kind of pulled away. They can't let that happen tonight if they want to have a chance.
Rick Peterson is our guest, TopSports.news. This is the local sports spotlight. We do it every Thursday at this time here on 580 Sports Talk. Shifting gears to the college gridiron, Washburn played tough in Edmond, but ultimately dropped a 6-point decision to Central Oklahoma last Saturday to fall to 0-2 in MIAA play. They're back home this week against Nebraska Kearney. What do you see as the key for the Ichabods in this one to try and get back on the winning track at Yager Stadium?
Well, particularly being at home, I think getting off to a good start would help. And then the other thing, I do think Washburn's healthier than they've been in a while, which will help. But the key in my mind, Washburn's going to have to slow down Kearney's running game. And last year, I was very impressed with that. So they're going to have to do that. But I think Washburn they'll be in the game, and I think they got a chance. Much as they did against UCO, they just got to find a way to get out with a win.
What do you see as the plan moving forward at quarterback? We've seen more of Keller Hurla the past couple of weeks. Justin Lewis obviously started and was the MIAA Offensive Player of the Week in week 1, but he had some struggles in week 2, and now we're starting to see them mix and match a little bit under center. Do you think that is the ideal for the Ichabods moving forward, or would Zach Watkins like to settle on a guy for the long term?
Well, I think the guy is Justin Lewis. And then I think Keller Hurla is going to play quite a bit, though. I think they're going to move him in. Kind of what the situation was last year when they need to get the running game going, because Hurla's as good a running quarterback as I've seen at that level in a while. So I think he could help them there. They could kind of mix it up with Justin throwing the ball and then Keller coming in and running the ball. I think they're both going to see action. But I think Justin will continue to be a starter.
Rick Peterson joining us for the local sports spotlight here on 580 Sports Talk. Got a few more questions to lob Pistol's way. Let's start with the news from earlier today. Keisha announcing the football classifications for the next 2-year cycle, the 2026 and 27 seasons, and also the full classifications for all sports for the 2025-26 year. Notable in football for the next 2 seasons following this one, Highland Park drops to 4A, and Care Paravel goes back down to 8-man football. They'll play in 8-man Division I. What do you think the effects are for both of those programs moving down a class?
I think it's probably good. Let's go Care Paravel first. When they were bumped up to 1A, it was by 3 students, I believe Doug Monera told me. And they just did not have the numbers to compete with some of the teams they're going to face. So I think it's good for them. Remember, 2 years ago, they were in the state semifinals in 8-man 1. So they know the game. If they have 20, 25 players there, they can compete at that level. Highland Park, I think 4A is fine for them. I think they'll be competitive. And I think sometimes it's just good to see a different class of schools, and that'll give them that opportunity.
Other area teams that are moving classes, Nemaha Central is going to bump back up to 3A for the next 2-year cycle. Rock Creek is going to bump up from 3A back to 4A. The big moves in the big classes, Mill Valley hops to 6A next year, with Wichita West dropping down to 5A. Andover Central, Piper, and Capon go from 4A to 5A. Great Bend, St. Thomas Aquinas, and the aforementioned Highland Park Scots go back down to 4A. When you look at some of the movement, what stands out to you? What is noteworthy about some of the movement that we've seen, both in the football cycle or also in the just the general classifications?
Well, for football cycle, I always like to see where the Aquinas' of the world and teams like that end up. And it does seem like sometimes they move around. Miage's moved around over the years.
Yes, they have.
And then, and of course, I want to study it a little more. But volleyball's important because Hayden's a contender. I think they got a good chance, but they will have to. They've always had to contend with Bishop Miege and some schools like that. I think. The big news for me is I'm hearing that Seaman, which has a very, very good girls tennis team, is going to get the chance to host a 5A state tournament. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that is awesome stuff. Not as much local movement in the annual classifications. Noteworthy from the area, Santa Fe Trail up to 4A, Holton down to 3A. So those two schools are effectively switching classes. St. Mary's drops from 3A to 2A. I always felt like it was kind of strange that schools would start their years, and I know they got to start the school year and then do all the accounting, but the schools will start their seasons here and not know which class they're going to play in some cases for sports like volleyball or golf or what have you. That
is true. They try to get an indication, and they're looking at the numbers as they come in, but there's surprises. Every year there's surprises. There's somebody somewhere that you didn't really think there'd be.
Rick Peterson joins us every Thursday at this time for the local sports spotlight. Catch Pistol and his staff's outstanding work covering all things Shawnee County High School sports in the Washburn Ichabods at TopSports.news. Pistol, always a pleasure. We'll do it again next week.
Look forward to it.
That is Rick Peterson. We will take a timeout, come back, and wrap up this hour of 580 Sports Talk after this. All right, thanks again to Rick Peterson of TopSports.news for joining us. We'll have a little more local sports coming in the 5 o'clock hour. We'll bring you the conversations for the Coaches Club this week for both of the city head coaches whose teams are playing tonight. Trey Parker's Topeka West Chargers are at home against Lansing, while Steve Bueller's Washburn Rural Junior Blues head out to the KC metro area to play Blue Valley Northwest tonight. So you hear from both Trey and Steve as a little Coaches Club appetizer. You'll hear from all the rest of the coaches from the Coaches Club on tomorrow's edition of 580 Sports Talk. Still got Mitch Holthus to come in the 5 o'clock hour. Still going to hear from Steve Spagnuolo and Matt Nagy, both of whom spoke to the media earlier today. We'll bring you that audio coming up here in the next hour. Also going to talk some K-State football in the next hour. If you're looking for hope, positivity, good vibes, they're hard to find around Kansas State football right now. They really are. And understandably so. You've watched the game, same as I have. But what if they rearranged some things during the bye week, got their heads screwed on straight? What if their talented guys play like talented guys? And what if they put the wood to UCF on Saturday? Which I think is something we all assumed was going to happen when this season began. Now, obviously, if we've learned anything from the first 4 K-State games this season, it's what we assumed about this team, and what they are two very different things. But what if they put the wood to UCF? What if they go and they beat them, they whoop them decent? Does that change the season, or does it merely prolong the inevitable? I guess maybe it depends in part on what you think about UCF, but I think it's fascinating. A fascinating look into the window of the K-State fan, the disgruntled K-State fan presently. So that's coming up. Plus, what is wrong with you? Nagy and Spags in the next hour of 580 Sports Talk here on 580 WIBW. Let's get it. Now, number 2, 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday afternoon. Hanging out with you on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9. Online at 580WIBW.com and in living color on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk, the name of the channel, and on WIBW News on Facebook. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis here with you until 6 o'clock. Got Royals baseball coming your way tonight at 8 p.m. here on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9. That's pregame start time, 8:38 first pitch as the Royals wrap up their 3-game series in Anaheim against the Angels. We're glad you're with us. We appreciate those of you who are new subscribers today to the YouTube channel. Again, you can check us out at 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Jump into the comments. Appreciate hearing from all of you throughout the day on YouTube. And we are now 78 subscribers shy of our next stretch goal. 800 was arm wrestling, which if you missed all of those shenanigans, it lives on our YouTube channel. It lives on our page, 580 Sports Talk. The Thrilla on Huntoon Hilla will remain up for posterity as long as there is a YouTube.com.
You just have to imagine the entrance music, though.
Yeah, Living in America got sniped, so no, Brendan does not get entrance music. He's just preening to silence, which is actually funnier, honestly. Actually, we should have gone through the back end. We've had to cover music before that leaked through or that we used, and then it got copyright struck. And there's like this really ridiculous like polka thing that we've chosen in the past to play instead. We could have done that. I kind of wish we had.
Is yours still up?
Yeah, mine's still up. Shout out to Aloe Black. He's cool.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Because it's been, 2 weeks now?
Yeah. Coming up. Yeah. 2 weeks now. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm feeling good just in case we ever get to a rematch. Just in case. That
a rematch, you'd have to settle it with a tiebreaker.
I'll get it with my right arm next time. There won't be no tiebreaker.
What?
If we go Lucero Dworzinski 2 Electric Boogaloo, I'm not losing with the right arm. I'm gonna build it up. I'm gonna
cut this so I can show it to Brendan.
You do
tomorrow
that
on the cubicle.
You do that. We'll have some speaks, as they say, about it. Anyway, check us out on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already, because our stretch goal again is 900 subscribers. When we get there, we're doing 580 Sports Talk karaoke. We're gonna sing songs selected by the listeners live on the air. And you want to make us do that, don't you? So that is our stretch goal. Brick by brick, we're creating a radio empire here on 580 Sports Talk. That's a little extreme. But we do appreciate all of you who have subscribed. And those of you who have been holdouts for whatever reason, go subscribe. Go check out the page. There's some fun old videos on there. There's all our instant reaction videos that we do in addition to. It's not just the radio show. I think people think, oh, yeah, they stream the live show there. Well, yes, we do. But we also have the instant reaction videos when we go cover a game, or when we're watching the Chiefs, we go live with instant reactions. So there's lots of instant reaction videos. There's some other fun old stuff. There is the arm wrestling that is archived, and all the rest. So encourage you to go subscribe if you have not already. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube.
No, I will not be singing It's a Whole New World. Sorry, Andrew.
You don't know that you won't be singing that. You're gonna sing whatever you draw out of a hat, big guy. You and me and Brendan are gonna sing whatever we pull out of a hat. That's the beauty of it. Somebody asked on the text line yesterday, can we submit opera songs? You can.
The only opera song I know is The Phantom of the Opera.
O Solo Mio. I know those words. But yeah, when we get to 900, we will take submissions. We'll throw them all in a hat, literally a hat. We will literally put them into maybe my hat, maybe Spencer's hat. Who's got the biggest head?
Probably me.
Probably you. What's your you don't wear fitted caps frequently, but when you do, what is your fitted cap size?
The one that I have, the last one I bought, barely fits my head, and it was a 7 3/8.
7 3/8, really? That was 7.5.
Maybe it's 7 3/4.
Could be 7 3/4. I would buy that. 7 3/4.
It was like 4 years ago.
How many buttons you got buttoned on the Boulevard snapback there?
I have 3 left.
3 left?
Yes, I have 3
Show the
left.
camera. Show the camera. So that's
and I feel like right now I need to pull more out because my hair is very much
overdue for a cut.
I'm overdue for a cut. I'm off Monday, so I'm getting it done Monday. But
there you
go. Tragic story to tell real quick.
Oh no!
Before we get derailed. So over the summer, our bathtub broke. Like the tub broke. We had leaking down into our downstairs.
Terrible.
But we were going. That was the week I was on vacation. So the people at the landlord, they came in, fixed it, whatever. We were gone. So I didn't realize how many days off. Well, the fix they did broke again. So I had to wash my hair in the sink this morning. And it definitely is sitting on my hat very weird today. Not ideal.
Hey, sometimes it'd be like that. But anyhow, as we were saying, subscribe to the YouTube 580 Sports Talk. Still to come this hour on the show, we're going to hear from Steve Spagnuolo and Matt Nagy, both of whom spoke for about 6-ish minutes today out at One Arrowhead Drive, talking about the challenges of facing the Baltimore Ravens, who come to Arrowhead Stadium on Sunday afternoon, a 3:25 kickoff, national TV on CBS. Chiefs Radio Network broadcast available on our sister station, the Big 94.5 Country. You can also watch us on Facebook or not watch us on Facebook. I've never seen one like this before. It's a new one on me. Viewer Judy, I don't watch nor care about sports. How do I get these posts to stop? I like the news only. 580 Sports Talk headlines coming up top of the 5 o'clock hour.
Yeah. Sorry, Judy.
Our apologies, Judy. Now, I know not everything is for everybody, but we stream on our Facebook,
okay,
WIBW News.
I think you might be getting us confused with the TV station that also has these same call letters.
Perhaps.
Because we get a lot of Facebook messages and people are concerned about certain things that air during broadcasts of news. And we like during
our hands are clean to those. Yes. We are not
us. We are not WIBW Channel 13. We are 580 WIBW, the radio station.
Very important distinction. We do news. We also do ag. We also do sports. We contain multitudes here at 580 WIBW, but we do not control what CBS puts on television. And frankly, neither do the folks at WIBW TV. A lot of times it's a CBS call, and that's over their pay grade.
Yeah,
anyway.
Neither does any channel in town.
Yeah,
for people wondering where a certain show is.
Yes, decisions that get made are at the corporate level usually, and that's a public service announcement. We're trying to help those folks. Anyway, let's get back into the sports. Much to Judy's dismay, we are going to talk a little sports here on 580 Sports Talk today, if nobody minds. Kansas State plays UCF on Saturday morning. It feels weird to say morning, but it is technically true. They kick off at 11 a.m. Game we broadcast on FS1. It's the Big 12 home opener for K-State. Obviously, they go into it 1-3 overall and 0-1 in Big 12 play. UCF playing their Big 12 opener. They are 3-0. Spencer, have you in your life, or are you presently a big message board guy? Like, were you ever somebody who had like a handle and went in and did some posting on the on an internet message board of any kind?
I am not a poster. I'm not an S poster, as some people say. But I will, if there's ever any like drama going on inside of Marshall Athletics, I will hop on to the free forum boards and I will see what people are saying.
Sure. So you are,
because I found some juicy stuff on there.
You are
led to the AD leaving.
You are a reader, but not a participant.
Yes.
Now I understand that's about where I am, and I'm not really a frequent reader either. Like message board posters, the message board poster as a whole is not like Joe fan. It's not a normal fan, and that comes off kind of mean, and I don't say it in a mean way at all, because the message board poster is the type of fan that feels their feelings so acutely that they've got to get them out, and they've got to get them down on the internet for other people to react to. A lot of those people listen to sports talk radio, so we love message board posters. Without them, there's no us. So thank you guys. Thank you, message board posters. We are pro message board poster here on this program. But it is true, there are some things that get taken to extremes on message boards. They want coaches fired after a bad half. They want scholarship pulled after bad games. They are all meant to capture the most extreme reactions and feelings of a fan base. And if you want to talk about a fan base that is having some extreme feelings about an extremely bad start to the season, it is Kansas State. And I don't go read all the message boards, but the one that I read are mad as hell. They all want Chris Kleiman fired. They're all dreaming of head coach Colin Klein. They would like that to happen tomorrow, if possible. Tomorrow would not be too soon for many a message board poster to begin the Colin Klein era in Manhattan. This is all because Kansas State is 1-3 with 3 losses by a combined 12 points. Like, it'd be one thing if Kansas State were just getting drilled, like if they were losing big. And look, their one win was also by 3 points, so let's not. And it was against an FCS team, so the wins hardly worth celebrating. And the losses have felt more demoralizing than just one-score losses. The fact that a missed field goal was the only reason it was a one-score loss there at the end against Arizona. That was a more lopsided game on the stat sheet. The Army game was a much more lopsided game on the stat sheet. But on the scoreboard, 3 losses by a combined 12 points. So this has not all of a sudden reverted to like Stan Parrish era K-State. It only feels that way because of how long ago it was and how infrequently it has been that a Kansas State team has been this uninspiring. And that is not me saying that the anger is not justified, but I also don't think Chris Kleiman and his staff forgot how to coach football over the summer. I think they've made some mistakes. I think that over the course of watching the games, listening to the press conferences, talking to insiders, our guy Tim Fitzgerald, who joins us every week to talk about what he knows, what he's been hearing. And I think what I've been able to take away is that this Kansas State start is a confluence. It's never just one thing, right? But this is a confluence of some mistakes that were made in the ramp up to this season. There were some players who have been perhaps a little misevaluated. There have been some performances that have been unexpectedly subpar. There have been some injuries that have been unfortunate. There have been some bad breaks. It's never just one thing, but it's all gone bad for Kansas State, and that's how we get to 1-3. But also, if the bar is a program that never, ever makes a mistake, nobody's ever getting over that bar. I think when I evaluate Chris Kleiman, I think it's only right to not just talk about what the first 4 games of 2025 have been, but also talk about what 2024 was and what 2023 was and 2022 and 2021 and the seasons all before that. And what we have, this broad sample of data rather than just this narrow 4-game sample, is a prideful coach and a prideful program. And those things are the reason I have trouble believing that this season is just going to go completely into the trash can. That guys are going to check out, that they've used the bye week as a reason and an excuse to check out. It certainly does not sound, in listening to Chris Kleiman earlier this week and Matt Wells and Joe Klanderman today, that guys are ready to fold, that guys have quit, that the effort hasn't been there in practice, that they can't get their team back refocused for the rest of the season. It doesn't sound like that's the case at all. So that brings about the possibility that Kansas State can win their Big 12 home opener on Saturday. And for what it's worth, Vegas thinks they're going to. K-State has been a pretty steady favorite throughout the week in this game. They remain a 5.5-point favorite at Prairie Band Sportsbook up at Prairie Band Casino and Resort. They have been favored by as many as 6.5 in some other places. Total's 49.5 if you're interested. We'll get more into that stuff when we make some picks and predictions on tomorrow's show. But this team has the ability to beat UCF. This is not a game that you go into. This is not Oklahoma State being marched to the slaughter at Oregon 2 weeks ago, right? Like, this is not a zero chance, forget about it, let's just get out with our dignity intact kind of football game. This is a game that Kansas State wins, potentially. And if they do, what does that change about the course of the rest of their season. Because if they can beat UCF, if they are good enough to do it, I think they're going to. That is an open question. That is a fair question to ask, whether this team is good enough to beat UCF, even a rebuilding year zero under Scott Frost UCF. That is an open question. But if the answer is yes, if they can, they will, is sort of my thought on the game as we approach Saturday. If they are good enough to win, then they're going to win. And then what? And then what? Because following this, Kansas State's schedule is not super conducive to easy wins the rest of the way. Outside of the Oklahoma State game, they play November 15th. And even that's in Stillwater, which has been a house of horrors for Kansas State under Kleiman. They go to Baylor next week. They got TCU, a ranked team right now, coming to town after Baylor. Then they got the showdown after the bye week, and they're going to be underdogs against Kansas.
I think that's where some of this fan stuff comes from, too. You're so used to KU in football not being the better team when it comes to the output on the field, that some of this is coming from, like, we're so much better than K-State as a program overall football-wise. We can't let them pass us this year.
It's been close to happening each of the last 3 seasons, closer and closer and closer. Yeah. I think there were a lot of Kansas State fans that even coming into this season kind of thought, maybe this is the year they get us, new stadium. Maybe this is the year they get us, maybe. But that will be a game where Kansas State is an underdog. They will be home dogs against Texas Tech. Again, based on the current trends. They will be road underdogs at Utah November 22nd. Who knows about the Colorado game November 29th? That's a must win. If they're going to reach bowl eligibility, they're going to have to win that game. That might be a game they go in 5-6, and they, best case scenario, and they got to win that one. But it will feel a little bit more possible. And remember, when KU was 1-5 last year, when they were 1-5 and everybody in the world had written them off, and everybody in the world thought Lance Leipold forgot how to coach football, a guy with all those Division III national titles and the success that he'd had and taking Kansas to bowl games, resurrecting that program. Everybody thought after 6 bad games, most of which were just close losses, that Lance Leipold forgot how to coach football. And there was no way in hell that Kansas was going to finish with any more than 2 or 3 wins, because they certainly weren't going to beat Iowa State at home. And they did that. Well, they certainly weren't going to go to BYU and win. They turned around and they did that and handed BYU their first loss of the season, in fact, last year. Because the culture was good. They were prideful players, veteran players, and a prideful head coach who wouldn't let them quit. And that's how Kansas got to the point, and they ran out of juice at Baylor in their finale. But that's how they got to a point where they ripped off 3 consecutive wins over ranked teams. But do you know where that all began? After a bye against a team that was overmatched at home. They were 1-5 coming off of that loss at Arizona State. They went into their bye. They came out the next week and they played Houston. And they beat the brakes off the Houston Cougars at Arrowhead last year, 42-14. I was at that game. It was never close. Houston was bad last year. So it wasn't one of those where you left and thought, oh, wow, Kansas, what a monster win, what a huge win. But it felt like a return to normal service. It felt like, oh, that's a little bit more like the team I thought I would see. And so the opportunity exists, I think, for Kansas State to have a similar performance. I'm still not convinced UCF is all that good. They might be. They might be really good. Who knows? Maybe Scott Frost is just, he's got a place where he can make it shake. And that place is Orlando, Florida. And maybe UCF is really good. Maybe they're this year's upstart in the Big 12. But on paper, this feels a little bit like that KU Houston game from last year, where KU went in with the season in the toilet, with the vibes in the gutter, but they were off a bye. They were at home. It was a team they were better than, and they proved it. And they proved it to themselves. And that, to me, might be the most important outcome of a K-State win on Saturday. That this might be a team that needs to prove to itself that it can win. I'm not writing them off yet. I'm not. I won't. I think they can win on Saturday. And I'd be fascinated to see where the season goes from there.
I don't think you can write them off at all. I mean, they're well, not technically. They are one conference game in, but they still have the rest of the conference slate ahead of them.
It's a daunting slate.
You could finish with one loss in conference play if everything goes your way.
It's true. And honestly, that has to be the focus. That has to be the attitude is, hey, look, we're 0-1 in conference play. Oh, no, we can go 8-1 in conference play. But it starts with being 1-1 in conference play.
Exactly.
And you have to start that on Saturday. Text from the 316. And I think this is representative of a lot of concerns around Kansas State football right now. A lot of fans are concerned about the bad start to the season, but they're also concerned about long-term effects of what could happen if this season goes south. A texter from 316 asks if, and I'm presuming the context is if the season does go south and doesn't recover, would Avery Johnson, Dylan Edwards, and Lincoln Cure be around for the 2026 season? And I don't have anything like super reassuring to tell you in the sense that like nobody's told me, oh yeah, those guys are 100% going to be back at Kansas State next year, no matter what happens here. It's not the kind of thing most players are openly talking about 4 games into a season anyway. Also, in this modern era of college football, a lot of these guys are on 1-year contracts. And that's kind of how you look at it. Those guys, Avery Johnson, Dylan Edwards, Lincoln Kieran, they're on 1-year contracts right now. Do they want to re-up? I don't know. I don't know. That's probably less likely if they go 3-9. It's more likely if they go 5-7 or 6-6, and they feel like we've got unfinished business. We want to write a better ending to our careers here, or Lincoln Kieran, he's just starting to write his story. So I don't have any like insidery stuff to tell you about that idea, but I brought that text up because I do think it is reflective of like why there is such consternation about this slow start for Kansas State, because it felt like they were starting to attract big time talent, big time in-state talent. And what if those guys were to finish their careers somewhere else? That would hurt, because I think Kansas State fans have a lot invested in those kids.
Yeah, they do.
So that would hurt, but there's no reason at this point to think that is going to happen. But that also doesn't mean that it wouldn't, because that's modern college football for you. Love it or leave it. We'll take a break. We'll come back with What Is Wrong With You next. We're going to hear from Matt Nagy and Steve Spagnuolo later this hour as well. Mitch Holthus coming up at 5:25. We got a lot more to come on 580 Sports Talk. It is time for What Is Wrong With You here on 580 Sports Talk. Two news stories competing today, trying to take down our current weekly champion, the TA with the fart spray. A 32-year-old man who was a teacher's assistant at West Florence High School in South Carolina who was spraying a fart spray for about a month, which caused students to need medical attention for respiratory issues and incurred a bill of over $55,000 for inspection and damage to the school's AC system. Really did some damage with the fart spray. The gentleman was charged with disturbing schools and malicious injury to property. If it were a high school junior, we'd be like, man, cool prank.
Yeah.
32-year-old man. I think it's a fart spray, guys.
Hey, guys, I still want to live in my high school days, but I'm your teacher.
I'm the cool TA. Yeah, man. Not cool at all. Two news stories today. I will go first. This is not like a spectacular story. I just think this is the most honest person that we have ever had on What Is Wrong With You. At least one of the most honest. We are going to Japan. Police in Kumamoto City have arrested a 61-year-old on suspicion of shoplifting and causing injury after he drove away from a supermarket with a store employee clinging to the hood of his car. According to police, the incident occurred around 7:30 p.m. on Monday. Police said that Yoshihide Kai is accused of shoplifting 11 items, including beer, worth approximately 6,000 yen from the supermarket. Kai left the store with the items in a basket, and when called out by a store employee, dropped the basket and got into his car. The male employee stood in front of Kai's car, but as he started to drive away, the employee jumped onto the hood and stayed on it for about 30 meters. The story's from JapanToday.com. It uses the metric system. I'm sorry. Before being thrown off, he was not injured. Police quoted Kai as telling them, quote, I really wanted to drink alcohol, and I didn't have enough money, so I shoplifted, but I didn't want to be caught by the police.
Wow.
End quote.
Good honest boy.
Yeah,
Good
there it
honest
is.
Man.
Here it is. Just straight up honesty. Look, man, I needed a beer, but I didn't have the money, so I just took it. And then I saw the police, and that didn't interest me at all. I didn't want to tangle with the police. I just wanted to get away. I just wanted to drive off with my stolen goods and drink my ill-gotten beer in peace. That's all I want to do is get lit on a Monday night. I don't know what they got Monday night in Japan. They got I don't know what their equivalent like Monday Night Football is. 7:30 p.m. on a Monday night. I don't know what they got going on. Maybe they got some baseball.
Do they have football?
Maybe some sumo.
They have football?
Not as big a deal. Not quite as big a deal in Japan as it is in other places.
I guess baseball, but it's the wrong time of year for it, right?
Well, no, I think they still got the playoffs going. I think the Japan series coming up. I think they usually do theirs late September, early October. I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
Anyway, he just wanted to go home and drink his beer, and so he took it because he couldn't afford it. And then he didn't want to get stopped by the cops, but then he did anyway. The honest shoplifter. What have you got today?
How are you going to beat an honest shoplifter? So I just found one that's like, why are you doing this at this time of day, and why did you do this to begin with? So we're going to go to a very short distance away to Leawood, Kansas. A process server was arrested outside Travis Kelce's home after allegedly attempting to serve Taylor Swift deposition papers on behalf of Justin Baldoni's lawyers tied to the It Ends With Us director and actor's legal dispute with Blake Lively. People, this is a People magazine article.
Might be a first, but go ahead.
Yes. Can confirm the man identified as Justin Lee Fisher, who's 48, was arrested at 2 a.m. on September 15th after being suspected of jumping a fence into Chiefs tight end's gated Leawood, Kansas estate. The newly engaged couple were both believed to be in their residence at the time. He was charged with jumping the fence onto a private residence in a private neighborhood. Details of the incident were allegedly missing from the police report, obviously. But yes, why are you jumping a fence at 2 a.m. to get, no one's answering the door at 2 a.m.
So if you're really into pop culture gossip, there is an ongoing lawsuit between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively over the film It Ends With Us. Yes. Very popular book. My wife went and saw the movie. Colleen Hoover is the author. Very popular author, very popular movie. My wife went and saw it. Anyway, Blake Lively and Taylor Swift are pals. So I guess Justin Baldoni's people wanted to depose Taylor Swift. But you're not going to serve anybody at 2 a.m.
Yeah, I don't
and you're
know
certainly
why.
not going to do it by jumping over a fence onto their lawn. Like, give me a break.
Like, that is the what is wrong with you for me in the story. Why are we doing it at 2 a.m.?
Yeah, that's a little much.
There are also pretty easy ways to serve like, you're in the legal system. You can figure out who her reps are. You can do this the proper way, not breaking into a private neighborhood and then jumping a fence.
I'm going to go with the honest shoplifters our winner today, but I think the TA with the fart spray moves on to tomorrow.
Yep, I'm with you.
All right, that will do it. TA with the fart spray will move on to Friday. See if he can be our last weekly champion of the month of September tomorrow. We got Chiefs coordinator audio. Spags and Nags. I don't think anybody calls them Nags. Spags and Nagy coming up next. The Chiefs coordinator spoke with the media earlier today at One Arrowhead Drive. We'll start on the defensive side. We'll hear what Steve Spagnuolo had to say.
I don't have much. I mean, it's good to visit after a win, and but we kind of put that one to bed real quick and moving on to pretty good challenge here. This is a good football team. We'll have to play better than we did last week. So with that, I'll open it up.
It looked like you played a lot of split safeties against the Giants. When you do that, I mean, it looked like it was a heavy workload for you guys compared to maybe usual. What's the benefits of that? What do you guys really like about that with your personnel?
There was a guy we were concerned about. Well, listen, the week prior, that offense had put up some numbers, and they had really done it with some deep shots, some really good throws, and their receivers made some really good catches. So we didn't want that to happen again. We felt like if we let that happen, then we didn't want it to go that way like it did against Dallas. So we decided to take that away first. And then as the game went, you're just trying to decide whether do you stay in it, do you get out of it? And, you know, for whatever reason, we decided to go that route. That won't be like that every week. But when it was all said and done, we looked up there and there was 9 points. Felt good about that.
Coach, Chris Jones is usually, I know you guys have no grading system and everything, but for the ones that are out there, he's usually one of the best. He's not grading like he usually does. What do you see?
What grades are you using?
PFF is what I'm looking at right now.
That's what everybody uses. The only thing, Chris Collinsworth, I think he's a good dude and he's involved in that company. I don't know how you put a grade on somebody when you don't know actually what their assignment was or what they were being told. So I don't know. It's like that from our standpoint. I thought Chris in this particular game had a real big effect on the game. They obviously found ways to double him, whether it was two linemen, the running back at times was chipping inside, which you don't see a lot because that was the Chris Jones effect. A number of times that he didn't get there, but I think he forced the quick throw or step up. So, from my standpoint, I don't remember what Chris's actual grade was, but I know that at the end of the game, I thought the guys up front, Chris included, had a big effect on the way things went.
What did you see from the young guys?
The other, yeah. I think Ashton continues to get better and better. Omar, it was his second game now, and after missing all that time, you could start to see him kind of climbing the ladder and getting better. He missed that one sack that I know he wants back badly. We talked extensively, and Coach Reed mentioned it the night before the game. When you play a quarterback that's not quite as big, expect that. And Omar was like, and all those guys, they don't want to leave sacks on the field. But I thought both those guys really stepped up and helped us. I did.
So you mentioned PFF and they don't know the plays. If I'm not mistaken, it was Mike Zimmer a couple of years ago when he coached the Vikings made that same point. How much stock do coaches, when they're looking at PFF, put the stock in that?
Well, I will say this. There's a lot of stuff that PFF puts out that's valuable and useful. My only thing, I think a lot of coaches feel the same way. Chris and I have talked about it. We've laughed about it. And I think their guys do a really good job. And they can be, but I just think there's a margin of error when you don't know exactly what the player was told. It may look like he's made a mistake or a mental error and gets, but it might have been exactly what they told him. So I think that I took a stat class a long time ago, and there's a name for that, there's a margin of error is the only thing I can think of right now. But we get paid to grade our guys and coach our guys and evaluate them. So we're not using that for that. And we're going to, as far as other players and whether we use the grades on other players, that has to come from our eye and watching the tape. So I don't think we would rely on grades, but there's a lot of other valuable information that PFF has.
We're scoring more than anyone in the league right now. I guess what have you seen from their offense, and in particular Lamar, in this version?
Yeah, the same thing that we always see. A dynamic quarterback with a lot of talent around him and a team that can run the football. They when they're really good, and they have been all year long, they can dictate the game by being two-dimensional the whole game. And you have to worry about it on every snap. It doesn't matter what the down and distance is. They'll run it when you're supposed to throw it and throw it when you're supposed to run it, and they got guys that can do it.
I'm surprised Detroit was able to sack him a career-high 7 times. Anything you can use from them?
Well, what just stood out to me just watching the game on TV was how relentless Detroit was. The effort that their pass rushers put in, I thought was really, really good, and they found ways to eventually get them on the ground, which is not easy to do.
We're going to go last 3, Blair, Todd,
The concept of a spy, when you spy the quarterback, what do you give up when you do that?
Well, he's probably going to have the ball a little bit longer, because you don't got 4 guys on him. You got to mix and match that. I mean, sometimes when we do too much of that, I feel like we handcuff the pass rushers a little bit. Because in essence, you only have 2 or 3 guys rushing, they get doubled. And so we pick our spots. I mean, obviously every team that plays Baltimore is going to have some version of it. And you just got to decide when you're going to use it.
So Derrick Henry has not been a fumbler, but he's had a few big ones recently. I mean, I know you guys preach turnovers all the time. Is there more emphasis on that some weeks? And have you seen anything in the way he's turned it over? Maybe something you could exploit?
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's the same on offense as it is on. We always talk about getting turnovers in bunches, right? Maybe that happens to the offense too, the same way. I've never looked at him as a fumbler. I know he's had a couple in these past 2 games, but yeah, well, we try to attack the football and get him, put it on the ground. Yeah, anybody that touches it for them would like to do it. We haven't had that. I think we might have forced 1 or 2 out and haven't gotten them. I mean, it was nice to get the 2 interceptions last week. Really to slow this crew down somehow, some way, we got to find a turnover or 2 in there and give the offense some field position.
Steve, with a player like Lamar, how do you have to
talked to the pass rush about having a certain mentality to where it's not 100 miles per hour to keep that discipline, keep that contained.
Yeah, it's a little bit more of a controlled rush, but we don't want to slow guys down by saying controlled. I mean, there is a certain way to, to try to tackle and sack these quarterbacks because he's so elusive. If you're out of control trying to tackle a guy like this, you're not going to get him because he knows how to sidestep. He's got a great stiff arm. He's long. So those are all things that we've talked about. And, we got a bunch of guys that have played him before, so hopefully that experience against them will help us in this game.
So that was Steve Spagnuolo speaking earlier today. How about the offense's perspective? Matt Nagy also took to the podium. Here's the Chiefs' offensive coordinator.
I know we've been talking about the run game kind of week in and week out.
Yeah.
What did you see, especially in the second half? And do you feel like there's any strides being made in that area?
The second half was better. We had some bigger chunks early on, whether it's the RPO game or under center. I just felt like there was more of a rhythm that first drive of the third quarter. Some of that was obviously it was the opposite in the second quarter. That wasn't what we want to be. And we went in at halftime and just talked about just settling down, getting back to who we are. And I think that's very important. And the guys did that coming out there to start the third. You stayed away from penalties, you got positive yards, and then you were effective in the red zone with a great throw and catch by Patrick and 80.
From a production standpoint, Pacheco had a better game, I guess. What did you see that maybe is leading to his success?
Well, again, I would say kind of like we talked about as a shooter, the more shots you get in a rhythm. I think that was probably evident a little bit with both of those guys the other day with Kareem and Pacheco. The one thing I love about both of those guys in that room is those guys are so intense and they care so much. So when they get the ball, they get opportunities. They want to be able to show what they can do. And sometimes probably in the week prior, there might have been a little bit of pressing, not just from them, but from everybody. And I think let's just get away from that part of it. Let's just be us and just be calm and just play the game and not get out of sorts. And I thought our guys did a great job with that, in particular that start of that third quarter.
Maybe this is just a bigger speech and I'm thinking too much of it. I thought it was interesting last week you said you were looking for an identity. Mm-hmm. And here you just said at halftime, get back to who we are.
Yeah.
Is that to say that you found that identity and who it is? Like I said, I'm not trying to.
No. You're right with what you're thinking. But what I'm trying to say is I think in that first half, getting back to who we are was probably as simple as it sounds, just being calmer and just settling down, not the identity of the offense, but just being us and just somebody, no one pressing, just playing the game. If something happens, we adjust. Same thing with coaches too. Like, let's make sure that we're under control. And then when we get out there, we expect execution, and then it's teamwork.
We didn't get a chance to ask Patrick this yesterday, but what happened on the misconnection between he and Travis in the first half?
Just remind me. I'm so past that game. Remind me exactly the play.
Sorry. There was what was it, about 10 yards or so? And
the little check down?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was more of just he was just that. He was fourth in the progression. He's a check down, and they just missed each other. There's nothing more to it other than it might have even been a little bit of what was in front of Pat as he's trying to find a lane. But nothing that we've gone back and said, oh, no, this shouldn't happen. They got to make that catch, but that one wasn't really big on our list for that one, even though we want to make that play. Go ahead, sorry.
Where do you feel like Travis is right now? We've seen obviously Cambridge across some things the past couple of weeks on the sideline. Just where do you feel like he is right now?
Travis is fine. We've all, everybody here, we know who Travis is. We love it. We don't ever want to take that away from him. He's one of the, if not the greatest tight end to ever play the game. He's one of his greatest strengths is playing with emotion. And the beauty of what I think you saw happen the other day is it's never personal. It's just like sometimes it's just created. He cares. Coach Reed cares. We all care. So that happens a lot. Sometimes not always just in the game, but at practice, and we really don't make anything of it. I mean, it's all pure and nothing but love.
I think Patrick's spoken a little bit about just some balls he'd like back, and I think if I understood him right, not really about the reads, just the accuracy itself. Mm-hmm. Are you seeing that too? And what is the commonality if you do see a commonality?
There might be a few throws. The one that jumps out to me, there was one play where he was a little bit short on his post throw to Taekwon. That's the one that really probably jumps out to me the most. And so there's others, though, that at the end of the game, he throws that long pass back to him after the drop call. He goes right back to him and makes a spectacular throw. The touchdown pass to Taekwon was ridiculous, just that we take for granted that we think it's simple. It's not. So there's a lot of great things that Patrick is doing right now. We want to keep that going. We want to continue to harp on feet and timing and progression. And that all matches up with those deep throws that I think we're doing more of this year.
Last two, Sam and then Todd.
How much do you feel like his feet have improved just as the offensive line is settled in?
Much better from last year as far as his feet, and that's a positive, And he does it in practice. He takes it to the game. There might be a player or two here where it's not perfect, but when he's off schedule, he's the best in the game. So there's a balance of that.
Xavier Worthy at practicing. What have you seen from him so far? And if he can go, what can he do for you guys?
Well, he's such a big part of this offense, and he's been so instrumental in training camp and OTAs coming back this second year. He's so anxious to get back out there and show us what he can do and show us the growth. And then all of a sudden that happens in week 1. So now coming back, I thought last week was a positive. And now this week, excited. He's doing really well. He's running around. He looks good out there. So we're just literally taking it day by day, and I like where he's at, and it's exciting. The room, the vibe. Getting Rasheed back, in the meetings. There's a great chemistry. We know where we're at 1 and 2. We understand the significance of this game, but it's slowly coming back to that vibe, and Xavier's a big part of that.
And that was Matt Nagy, his thoughts from earlier today. We'll take a timeout, come back, wrap up this 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. Either or over under to wrap up this 4 o'clock hour. Spencer, over under 4.5 touches for Xavier Worthy on Sunday against the Ravens.
I'm going to hammer the over. I think he's healthy. I saw the ISO video they were posting of him having a good time today at practice.
He looked like he was feeling good, right?
Yeah. So I think he's going to get pretty involved.
I kind of tend to agree. I don't think they'd run him out there if they felt like there was any danger in him getting re-injured. So if he's out there, that means he's good to go. Yeah. And I do think it'll be a steady dose of him. I think they'll be creative in how they give him the ball, too. I would expect him to take an end around at least once. I think we're going to see a lot of Xavier Worthy on Sunday.
Over under 63.5 rushing yards by the running backs this weekend. I said running back, so that doesn't include Pat.
Doesn't include Mahomes. 63.5. So they had, 77, I think it was, 79 combined against the Giants on Sunday.
I'll change that 65.5.
Oh, okay, well, they're definitely going over now. Shoot, you're bumping up the number. No, yeah, that's tough because it all is going to depend on game script. I think the Chiefs, I'm leaning towards picking the Chiefs on Sunday. So I'll say they're in a game script where they do run the ball a little bit more. So I'll go over. Yeah.
All right. I'm going over as well.
Coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, will join us at 5:25. We'll also get a little Coaches Club appetizer. There are 2 Thursday night games involving City of Topeka teams tonight, with Trey Parker of Topeka West and Steve Bueller of Washburn Rural being heard from next hour as well. Plus headlines. That's all to come on the final hour of 580 Sports Talk.
Did you ever give away those tickets? What?
Let's get it. Third and final hour of 580 Sports Talk. On this Thursday afternoon, Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you for one more hour here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. Check us out on YouTube. Jump in the live chat. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not done that before. All it costs you is a click. Smash that subscribe button on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. We got a jam-packed final hour of the show today. Not handing it off directly to Royals baseball. They're finishing up their season out on the West Coast. So another 8:38 first pitch for the Royals tonight against the Angels as the Royals go for the series win in the rubber game, try and nose back over the 500 mark for the season.
I know they're staying on the same coast. They're going from Anaheim to Sacramento.
Right.
But why in the world couldn't you just schedule an afternoon game?
So what I was thinking is that maybe it's the Angels home finale, or not. And so they want to do fan appreciation night.
I guess.
Yeah. But it's not. It's not. They play at home through the weekend. So, yeah, they should have played it. If they had played a day game today, we would not have had a show. We would have just wiped us out.
Yeah. I'm not saying I wanted that. I'm just saying, like, it's weird that we're going through this week and there's no day baseball.
It is. The last week of the year, there was some.
And it's, like, so late, too. Like, the games are so late because they're on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like baseball just isn't happening in a way.
No, I get it. I get exactly what you're saying. It is an 8:38 first pitch tonight. Michael Lorenzen on the hill for the Royals. Mitch Ferris, who previously pitched quite well for the Angels against the Royals earlier this month, the left-hander, will take the mound for the Angels. Jensen and Caglione both in the lineup tonight, even against the lefty. Royals are going with 5 lefties in their starting lineup. Is
Salvi in it?
Salvi is playing first base tonight. Still 3 RBI shy of 100.
Well, I noticed he wasn't in the lineup last night.
Yeah, he was not. He is back in there tonight, and but he's not catching. He's playing first base. Jensen's catching. So that is what's coming up tonight here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. Coming up in this final hour, in about 15 minutes or so, we'll be joined by the great Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, for our weekly visit. Those, of course, brought to you by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. We'll get Mitch's residual thoughts on the Sunday night win over the Giants and a look ahead to this Sunday in a big AFC clash against the Baltimore Ravens. Also coming up this hour, part 1, you could call it, of this week's 580 Preps Coaches Club. We typically bring it to you Friday as the conclusion to 580 Sports Talk, get you set for high school football. But there are 2 teams from the capital city who are playing tonight. So we're going to bring you those coaches' conversations on tonight's show. So Coaches Club Part 1 coming up in a little bit. You'll hear from Topeka West head coach Trey Parker. They play Lansing tonight at Hummer Sports Park. And Washburn Rural head coach Steve Bueller, his Junior Blues on the road tonight at Blue Valley Northwest. So if you're on your way out to one of those games, you'll get a chance to hear from those respective head coaches. But we do have some headlines to get to today. We're going to get to those. Again, we want to hear from you throughout this final hour. Hop on in on the live chat on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk, or shoot us a text. 785-272-9429 is the number, 785-272-9429. We'll start with the new CASA classifications. We've got the general 2025-26 classifications and the football classifications for the next 2-year cycle, 2026 and 2027. We'll start in football, where, notably from the capital city, Highland Park will drop to Class 4A for the 2026 and 2027 football seasons. And Care Paravel, after spending this season and the season previous playing 11-man football, will drop back down to 8-player football. They'll play in the 8-man 1 division next year. The big moves at the top include Mill Valley, who has dominated 5A in recent years, jumping up to play in Class 6A, while Wichita West drops from 6A to 5A. 3 schools flip-flop between, or 6 schools, 3 in each class, flip-flop between 4A and 5A. Andover Central, Piper, and Cape and Mount Carmel go to Class 4A. or go to Class 5A from 4A, while Great Bend, St. Thomas Aquinas, and Highland Park drop to 4A. Rock Creek will move back up to 4A in football next year, while Atchison moves down to Class 3A. Nemaha Central, who's been a bully on the block in Class 2A in recent years, will jump up to 3A next season, along with Lyons, Larned, and Hoisington. Chaparral, Baxter Springs, Pleasant Ridge, Marysville, and Neodesha will drop from 3A down to 2A. Horton moves up to 2A from 1A, along with Marion, Jayhawk Lynn, and Maranatha Academy. Moving down from 2A to 1A, St. Mary's out of Potawatomi County, along with ACCHS, Belle Plaine, Eureka, Hillsboro, and Blue Stem. Arma Northeast is the only school moving from 8-player football to 11-man football next year. Among schools moving to 8-man next season include, as I mentioned, Care Paravel, along with Bennington, Southeast Cherokee, Erie, Harrington, Stanton County, Oakley, Pleasanton, and the South Sumner co-op between Caldwell and South Haven. Cunningham will move up from 6-man football to 8-man next year and join the 8-player 2 division. Several schools will drop into 6-player next year. There will be a 28-team class next year of 6-man football. Ashland, Buckland, Deerfield, Wheatland Grinnell, Satanta, Logan Palco, and Tri-Plains Brewster all move down from 8-player to 6-player. Logan and Palco will split up. They've been a co-op in a lot of sports. They're going to split up and each have their own 6-man programs. Same with Tri-Plains Brewster. They were co-oping in 6-man, actually, and now they're going to split up and have their own 6-man teams out there in Northwest Kansas. So those are the changes for 2026 and 2027. Again, here in our listening area, the most germane changes, Highland Park drops to 4A. Nemaha Central moves to 3A. Care Paravel down to 8-man football. And St. Mary's drops to 1A. As far as the annual classification changes, not nearly as many of these because it's only a single year. But again, as far as schools in our purview here, Santa Fe Trail hops up from 3A to 4A. Holton drops back down to 3A, as does Oskaloosa. And St. Mary's goes from 3A to 2A. Wabaunsee down to 1A from 2A. There will be 112 1A schools, 64 teams in both 2A and 3A, 36 teams apiece in 6A, 5A, and 4A. So that is your update as to Keisha's decisions and the new classifications for the coming years. Next headline, Spencer.
First headline for me is the practice of reports for the Chiefs versus Ravens this coming Sunday, 3:25, obviously. For the Chiefs, they got some good news today. Only one player limited in practice, the rest full, as Mike Dana goes back from limited to full with his quad injury. Christian Fulton still limited with the ankle. Full practices once again for Nick Bolton dealing with a rib, Hollywood Brown dealing with an ankle, Brian Cook dealing with a neck injury, Creed Humphrey dealing with a rib injury, Ashton Gelati dealing with an elbow injury, Patrick Mahomes the right wrist, Charles Omenihu dealing with a chest injury, Jalen Royals with his knee tendonitis, fully practiced once again, Jawan Taylor, knee and ankle fully practiced, along with Drew Tranquil fully practicing, and Xavier Worthy fully practicing. We talked about earlier that he looked really loose out there and ready to go. For the Ravens, they got some potential good news as starting defensive tackle Travis Jones returned to practice today in a limited capacity. He did not practice yesterday due to a knee injury, but Isaiah Likely limited in practice once again due to a foot injury. Yesterday we said that John Harbaugh had declared Matabuke out, so obviously he didn't practice. Fullback Patrick Ricard didn't practice with a calf injury. Ronnie Stanley, offensive tackle, didn't practice with an ankle injury. Cal Van Noy once again didn't practice with a hamstring injury, and Broderick Washington, another defensive tackle, he did not practice with an ankle injury. So both teams get a little positive news on the injury front.
That injury to Matabike is really concerning because of how little anybody is willing to say about it.
Yeah.
That it's a neck injury that he's dealing with. And typically if teams are hush-hush on the details of neck injuries, that means there's like some real long-term concern.
Harbaugh also said, I don't know how much I can get into it.
Yeah, so it's
along with saying he would be out this week.
That's a scary deal, and hope that Matt Abike will be all right and be able to return to play at some point this season. He is dearly missed by the Ravens. He's their best defensive line pass rusher. Ronnie Stanley not practicing for a second straight week. Obviously, that would be a big blow to a Ravens offensive line that had their lunch eaten by the Lions on Monday night. Kyle Van Noy is the other good pass rusher on the Ravens. Him not practicing is also a pretty big deal. It's not a bright and sunshiny practice report for the Ravens, to be sure, certainly in contrast to the Chiefs. Next headline for me, the Ryder Cup opens tomorrow. I love the Ryder Cup. One of the great sporting events, the biannual golf showdown between Team USA and Team Europe. Earlier this afternoon, the Friday foursomes matchups were released. It's going to be bright and early for you. 6:10 is when things will tee off from Bethpage Black out in New York. First match in foursomes tomorrow. The U.S. is sending out the pairing of Bryson DeChambeau and Justin Thomas against Europe's pairing of John Rahm and Tyrrell Hatton. Hatton and Rahm went 2-0 in foursomes last time out when Europe won the Ryder Cup outside of Rome and Italy. The second Friday foursome in the Ryder Cup, Ludwig Oberg and Matt Fitzpatrick for Team Europe, taking on the number one player in the world, Scotty Scheffler, paired with Russell Henley in the second foursome matchup. The third foursomes, Europe sending out the star-studded pairing of Rory McIlroy and Tommy Fleetwood against Colin Morikawa and Harris English for Team USA. And the final Friday foursome will be Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay, the two good buddies, teaming up for Team USA against Europe's team of Robert McIntyre and Victor Hovland. The foursomes, that is alternate shot, will begin again at 6:10 a.m. tomorrow. And we'll kick off the Ryder Cup. That opening session will be followed by four best ball matches, or four ball as they're known, starting at 11:25 p.m. The pairings for those will be announced immediately following the conclusion of foursomes play. Then you play the same schedule on Saturday and the 12 singles matches on Sunday. So for Team USA, they are sitting out J.J. Spawn, Sam Burns, Ben Griffin, and Cameron Young for the first session tomorrow. On the bench for Team Europe, Rasmus Højgaard, Justin Rose, Sepp Straka, and Shane Lowry. Team USA is the betting favorite. It does seem in recent years that it follows a pretty predictable pattern. The United States win when it's in the United States, and Europe wins when it's in Europe. According to a story at ESPN.com, Team USA holds minus 150 odds to Europe's plus 150, according to ESPN Bet. Remember, every match is worth a point. A half is worth half a point to both sides. 14.5 points wins the cup. A 14-14 tie would keep it in Europe's hands. Are we taking it back, Spencer? Are we taking back the Ryder Cup?
USA.
Man,
USA.
It is going to be so toxic. Bethpage Black. Like, I don't think they've thought about the repercussions of putting the Ryder Cup at Bethpage. Like, those are the rowdiest major championship crowds, and now it's going to host the Ryder Cup. Like, the Europeans are going to do so much complaining when they lose, because I think they will lose. I think the home course advantage is a big deal. Home country advantage is a big deal in the Ryder Cup. But the Europeans are going to do so much complaining when they lose, when New Yorkers are calling Tommy Fleetwood all kind of names. Maybe not Fleetwood. People like him.
Yeah.
They're probably going after Rory, taking a run at like poor Justin Rose, who's like a wonderful man, and just calling him all the worst names in the book. Yeah, it's going to be gnarly. Like, it might have to be some monitoring of the crowd mic situation on the NBC and the Peacock broadcast.
A lot of times where you just don't hear anything because they've had to go back and cut it.
I will be watching it. I am looking very much forward to watching it. If anybody would like to watch it, you can stop by my office tomorrow. I'll have it on.
Next headline for me, Kansas State offensive lineman Sam Hecht has been named a semifinalist for one of the most prestigious honors in major college football, the William V. Campbell Trophy. The National Football Foundation, NFF, has announced Heck is one of 178 semifinalists from all of the NCAA divisions and the NAIA for the award that recognizes an individual as an absolute best football student or scholar athlete in the nation for their combined academic success, football performance, and exemplary leadership. So getting recognized once again for what he does on and off the field is Sam Hecht, one of 178 semifinalists.
Very, very cool. And that's not just Division One. That is all NCAA divisions and the NAIA. So that's a lot of football players. So to be one of 178 across all those divisions, that's a pretty neat deal. So congratulations to Sam Hecht. Real credit to what he has done, like you said, on and off the field at K-State. One last headline. You probably missed it because you went to bed early last night. Cal Raleigh has 60 home runs for the Seattle Mariners. He had a pair of home runs last night in Seattle's, I didn't even know the final score. I'm sure it was a lopsided win over the Colorado Rockies. I'm just guessing. I know.
Shout out to the Rockies for letting them hit homers.
Yeah, and they know why they're there.
The big dumper dumped 60 this year.
The Mariners have clinched the American League West with the win last night. I really feel like we could enjoy Cal Raleigh's historic season more if every way we referred to him was not a joke about the man's gigantic ass. Like, at some point, it has to be like, enough. This guy is more than a posterior. He's hit 60 home runs. You don't need all of your fingers to count the number of guys who've hit 60 in a season. We all know them. Ruth, Merritt, McGuire, Sosa, Bonds, Judge, Cal Raleigh. That's amazing. And he's a full-time catcher. Full-time. He doesn't do the DH. He catches all the time. And he's hit 60 home runs. It's incredible. Aaron Judge should still win the MVP, I'm sorry to say.
Well, yeah, like whenever Aaron Judge was going for 60, they were breaking in on ESPN live, no matter what they were airing. They weren't doing that for Cal Raleigh last night. Come on,
yeah,
ESPN.
Yeah, they should be showing Cal Raleigh a little more love. Maybe if y'all had to make a joke about that man's butt, and we'd take him a little more seriously. Shame on y'all for making jokes about that man's butt, because that's all he is to you people. Is his big can.
It's not his fault it is his fault that he chose his nickname to be the Big Dumper. That's his chosen nickname.
He should have made a better. We all could have made better choices. But 60 home runs, it's incredible. It just an amazing accomplishment. And I know that it was degraded a little bit during the steroid era in the eyes of some. But if it were that easy to hit that many home runs, more than 6 guys ever would have accomplished the feat. It's pretty damn cool. Tip of the cap to Cal Raleigh by any name. We'll take a break. Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, joins us next. Tell a friend to tell a friend, the voice of the Chiefs, joining us on 580 Sports Talk. 526 on 580 Sports Talk, and we are pleased to be joined by the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, as we are every Thursday during the NFL season. Mitch's appearances on 580 Sports Talk are brought to you by Hy-Vee, your official tailgate headquarters for Kansas City Chiefs football, and by Azure Credit Union. Contact Crystal Rippey, Kirsten McCall, or Nassim Khan about the credit union advantage for your next home loan. Well, Mitch, it was a frustrating, if not downright ugly at times, first 30 minutes of football for the Chiefs, but they steadied the ship in the second half, came away with their first win of the year and first win ever as the road team against the New York Giants. And it seems to me, Mitch, that coming out of the game and just listening to Patrick Mahomes' press conference this week, listening to Matt Nagy talk today, it seems like this team feels like their offense is starting to find its legs and move in the right direction.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. And going back to the Giants game, this league is so tight. There's so many close games that are being decided by a fraction of an inch. The interception by Jalen Watson is enormous against Malik Neighbors. Instead of being down a touchdown, the Chiefs ended up getting a 52-yard pass interference penalty and kick a field goal. They're up 9-6. Get first possession, third quarter, make it a touchdown. Best drive of the year so far. 16-6 game totally changes. Same play with Mahomes stripping the ball from Bobby Okereke, which was really an amazing play. But to your point, I say that because it's been sequential here. That led to a second half of kind of settling down in all three phases, and the offense got going. But being around, and especially talking to some of the coaches today, there is that feeling that, and getting Xavier Worthy back helps. But there's, I would echo Pat's thoughts in thinking that this offense is getting closer. The defense has got a large task. We'll talk about that with this Ravens offense, but the Chiefs offense has got to be hitting. They've got to click in this game. I mean, it'd be hard to think you got to get to 30 points somehow, especially with how formidable the Raven offense is.
So what is the path? Let's start talking about this Sunday night or Sunday afternoon matchup, rather, against the Baltimore Ravens coming to town. Two teams that will be fairly hungry for a win to avoid a 1-3 start. What is the path to offensive success for the Chiefs in this matchup? Because they've had some games in the past where they've been able to put up some points against the Ravens defense. This is a talented Ravens defense, but it might be down some key members. It's already without Nnamdi Madubuike. We know that. Kyle Van Noy hasn't practiced yet this week. So what is the path? What do the Chiefs see as the path to getting the offense on track and putting up the numbers they're going to need to put up to get the win on Sunday?
I think Van Noy is going to play. He's just unusually tough. But, I mean, Travis Jones and Broderick Washington, two other starters on the defensive front, may not play. But I think it's a matter of commanding the line of scrimmage. I know that sounds very simplistic, but and being balanced. Just take Exhibit A. My answer to you would be, hey, let's just watch the first drive of the third quarter against the Giants. 6 runs, 5 passes. The passes were set up from the runs. The runs were all different, varied kind of runs, but 4 first down runs of those 6 that yielded a 6-yard average. Now, once you start to do that, and you're playing a Raven team that is, I'm just perplexed by them. I'm just trying to figure them out. This is not the Ravens that we normally see, not giving up 96 points in 3 weeks, which is a record for their franchise. But you have a chance to attack this Ravens defense, and you need to. But it really starts, winning the line of scrimmage all the time, not some of the time, but all of the time, and then being run past balance and letting the two set each other up. That first drive of the third quarter, a run by Pacheco, and the pass play, I think the Hollywood Brown on the second play, was precisely the action shown by the first down run, or close to it. And so, again, that's not nuclear physics, but you can move the ball on this Ravens team. I mean, they're at the bottom or near the bottom in most every defensive category, and they'll still be missing some guys on Sunday afternoon.
To that point about winning the line of scrimmage, Mitch, and also to the earlier comments about an offense feeling like it is close to coming into its own, how much of that is due in part to how well the Chiefs' offensive front held up against as talented a defensive front as they're going to see all year in New York? So I thought it was a really good game for a lot of those guys. I thought it was as good as I've ever seen Kingsley Suamataia. Is it growing confidence and comfortability in the front five right now that is also leading to some of that internal belief in the direction of the offense?
Yeah, and I think that goes back to the balance as well in the approach to any single drive. And so I think that helps the offensive line too. The other thing that helps, and I'm excited about, not just with Xavier Worthy being back, but a guy like Brashard Smith, because in the Giants game, we started to see the effective use of whether it's an end around or whether it's a flip pass or whether it's a jet sweep. Think about the play by Nico Remigio. He gets a double-digit run on a jet sweep. Well, the jet sweep, end around, flip pass is all pretty much the same dynamic. You're trying to get misdirection. You can slow down a pass rush that way. But if you get Brashard Smith doing that, or Xavier Worthy, which did it against the Ravens last year, he had 2 touchdowns in the opening game of 24 against these guys. Now all of a sudden you can get a big play because of Brashard Smith's speed or Xavier Worthy's speed, because it's elite speed. We're talking 4.2, 4.3 speed. So if you get the corner turn and the defense doesn't play it correctly, all of a sudden now you can get a 50, 60-yard play.
We're joined by voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus here. And Mitch, the running game, obviously you mentioned it right there with Brashard Smith being able to do what he can along with Nico Remigio. But the running backs themselves, obviously they've kind of taken some heat over the last few weeks, but it seemed like when you look at the runs that they got, and it seems like last weekend they were taking a step forward when it comes to their efforts in the running game, because it seemed like the first couple of weeks it was like you looked at the stats and it was like Pat was the guy. He had to be the guy running the ball. But 4.5 yards a pop for Isaiah Pacheco, obviously 10 carries, 45 yards. How do you see them continuing to grow and get better in the run game as the season goes on?
Well, in the NFL, 4.0 a carry is a passing grade. That actually gets you on the honor roll. And you're not going to be valedictorian, but that's what you would like. And if you can, let's just say you have 2 runs, now you're going to have 3rd down and 2 if you're getting 4 yards a carry, which you alluded to the average of Pacheco. But even the ability of to move forward and getting the pile moved or getting inertia moving forward by Kareem Hunt is helpful. I was looking at one of your nuggets of the night. The only 1, 2, 3, 4 teams have run it less than the Chiefs in the first half, but the Chiefs are 3rd best, or 3rd most, I should say, on 1st and 10 runs. 3rd in the NFL in the first 3 weeks in running the ball on 1st and 10. I think that would surprise most. And the Chiefs are 6th best in the league in the percentage of first down runs that gain 4+ yards. So it may be 2nd down. It may be 2nd down where you just run it again or decide, even if we don't get the first down, we're going to have 3rd down and short. So there may be some decisions being made in that regard. So it may be approach, execution. Sure, it's execution. But I think where the run game goes from here is maybe some additional commitment to it. But the other thing that has to happen, it's what I alluded back with the flip passes and the misdirection kind of plays, is getting a chunk run, getting explosive play out of the running game or the flip pass game, where it's not designed necessarily to be a electric play. It may be set up to get 10 or 12 yards, but a guy like Brashard Smith or Xavier Worthy can make it a touchdown from anywhere on the field. And I guess that's my point. When you get Brashard Smith going now and up and running, and you get Worthy back, you have that. And if you don't get him, you have the threat of getting him, which makes everything else work within the offense. I think that's where the running game comes from here. And even the short passing game, I'll throw that in there. But getting some explosive plays out of plays that aren't necessarily designed to be that.
How does Tyquan Thornton's role change with Xavier Worthy? It seems like that he's going to be back on Sunday. Obviously not official until the Friday reports come out, and then the inactives are announced on Sunday. But how does Tyquan Thornton's role change with the return of Worthy?
Doesn't. Right now, he's your if you're running the 4x1, he's been running a really good 3rd leg, and he would stay in the 3rd position. You're not going to move him to 1 or 4. I think that if he continues, and he's done this now consistently, he's had big plays, and then I think a really big step forward was the 5-yard touchdown pass in the red zone. Because as we've talked about on this show years and years, is the red zone is a whole different animal. You've got tight windows, you've got to make precise routes, tough catches, and he did just exactly that. Pat made an incredible throw on that play action RPO pass to Tyquan Thornton. But Thornton's role does not change. Don't take him in fantasy. He'll surprise you maybe, but I'm not saying that he's going to become the WR1. He is what he is. And he's super effective as running the third leg in the relay. Looks like a really good number 3 runner in the relay. But his ability to stack plays together has been noteworthy.
Couple more questions for Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, joining us here courtesy of Hy-Vee and Azure Credit Union on 580 Sports Talk. All right, the big question for the Chiefs defense in this matchup, as it is for any defense going up against the Baltimore Ravens, how do you slow down this Ravens rushing attack with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson? We went through some of the numbers earlier on the show. The Chiefs have actually had good success limiting Derrick Henry. Lamar Jackson's had some big games as a scrambler on the ground. What do the Chiefs need to do to blunt the impact of those two all-time greats?
And let's throw in that I think this is the best supporting cast Lamar's ever had. Bateman's doing a much better job at wide receiver. We know Zay Flowers can be an electric player. The tight ends are all good. Looks like they're going to get Isaiah Likely back. And Charlie Kolar is even a pretty good player. Justice Hill is better. I just think the protons and neutrons around Lamar Jackson are the best he's had. Now, why do I answer your question that way? Is that you have to start somewhere in defending this team. In my discussion with Spags today, and I'm not going to give any government secrets, but I said, you've had to have a few sleepless nights here. And he's like, yeah. I mean, he agreed with me about the supporting cast, but you have to start in gap control, because if Derrick Henry's running downhill or the RPO game is carving you up, you've got no shot. You said it well. I don't know the verb you used, but blunting them. I don't think you're going to wipe them out. They're not going to be 1 for 10 on third down like the Giants. You may not take 2 plays away or takeaways, but you might, because one of the nuggets is that Lamar Jackson has struggled against the Chiefs in giving the ball away. Now, we know that Derrick Henry's had 3 fumbles in 3 weeks. Second time in his career that has happened. But Lamar Jackson has given the ball up 5 times in 6 games against the Chiefs. That's counting the AFC Championship game when Charles Omenihu stripped him of the ball in a really nice sack strip. Now, Omenihu got hurt towards ACL later, but the point is you can get some takeaways in this game, and you're probably going to need to, because if this is an 8-possession game, you got to figure out a way to get stops, and it's going to be blunting them. I like that term. It's just not letting them run roughshod, because we've seen what they've done at the 111 points so far in 3 weeks, which is also a record for them. And so just slowing them down, steal a few possessions. Maybe that's a takeaway, or you stop them, make them punt. Their kicking game is a little different because they got new guys there, or at least in the place kicker position. So you can win special teams, I think, but you got to make them punt first. So you got to start with first things first, and don't look at climbing the hill. Just take one step at a time. And that first step is Derrick Henry.
Never easy when these two teams meet each other. Should be a dandy between the Chiefs and the Ravens on Sunday afternoon at Arrowhead Stadium.
You want some nuggets?
Yes, I was just about to say, Mitch, let's empty the chamber.
Well, here we go. Let's take Lamar Jackson. He is the first quarterback in NFL history to have 9 touchdowns and no interceptions in his first 3 games and have a losing record. In fact, that 9-0 in the first 3 games has happened by 9 other quarterbacks, and there's only 1 game that they lost at those 9, and that was Peyton Manning. So with 9 times 3, they're 26-1. I'm sorry, because Lamar would have to be in there with his 2 losses, so it'd be 24-3. But Lamar's got 2 of those 3 losses. He's also the first quarterback in NFL history, Lamar Jackson, to have two 140 quarterback rating games, and he lost both games. It's never happened in the history of the league. Also, the run game is interesting because it's the first time since Jackson became a starter in 2018 that they've had back-to-back games without 100 yards rushing. Keep in mind, remember the angst from Ravens fans after the AFC Championship game in 2023. They only had 81 yards rushing. So what are the Ravens going to do? That defense is going to get challenged by John Harbaugh, and the offense, I got a feeling that they're going to be zeroing in on getting at least 100 yards rushing.
Mitch Holthus is the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, and we will look forward to Mitch's call of the game on Sunday afternoon as the Chiefs take on the Baltimore Ravens. He joins us thanks to Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union here Thursdays on 580 Sports Talk. Always a pleasure, Mitch. Have a great call. We'll do it again next week.
Thanks, fellas. When does a regular season Week 4 game feel like the playoffs? This week.
Absolutely. Thank you again. That is Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs. We'll take a break, come back with more on 580 Sports Talk next. There is high school football in the capital city tonight. Two of the capital city's teams in action this evening as week number 4 gets underway. Topeka West at home. It's their homecoming game against Lansing tonight, while Washburn Rural is on the road for non-league action against Blue Valley Northwest. We'll hear from both of their head coaches here. Call it part 1 of this week's 580 Preps Coaches Club, with part 2, all the coaches coaching in Friday night games, coming tomorrow. First, we'll hear from Trey Parker, whose Topeka West Chargers are again at home tonight against Lansing. Trey, a tough one against the Seaman Vikings on Friday night at Hummer Sports Park. It felt like they took away your passing game a little bit, and while you're able to build some things on the ground, just not able to maybe sustain the drives. What did you see reviewing the film that you'll need to take from that game and really apply offensively so that you do have a little bit more consistency moving forward?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that they showed, that they always shown under Coach Swafford, is physicality. They were just more physical than us on both sides of the ball. They came out with a chip on their shoulder, like we knew they would, and they out-physicaled us. And in the game of football, once you get out-physicaled, I mean, there's not much you can do after that. There's no magical pill or play that you can do to fix that. Just have to be physical back.
Defensively, they had a big game through the air. You've got a very young secondary, lots of sophomores playing back there, kids who are still growing, still developing. What do you hope that they take away from a night like that? And how have you seen that group try to bounce back and continue to get better as they forge their way forward as a young group together in that secondary?
Yeah, playing defensive back is a hard position to play, especially as a young guy. I mean, that's one of those positions where you're going to lose no matter how good you are. There are just going to be times that you get beat, and you just have to be able to bounce back and say, hey, next play. And for our young guys, there were a few times that they were down on themselves, but after some coaching and talking and things like that, they're starting to gain their confidence back. That's a tough blow for them to take, when you're feeling like you're playing better and then, things like that happen. But moving forward, we just want them to know that we believe in them and we want them to continue to build that confidence in themselves.
You've got a Thursday night game this week. Lansing is your opponent as you get ready to play the Lions. What stands out about them on film? What will be tough about playing the Lions?
Yeah, just like every year, Coach Pollard, he likes to stretch the field. He likes his quarterbacks to get out of the pocket and look for the deep ball, look for the big play. If we're able to limit those big plays, then we like our chances.
Offensively, go back to kind of what we talked about earlier, just being able to be more physical is certainly a teaching point. But what will you try and do? Because, again, it kind of seemed like Seaman was willing to let you run the ball a little bit, and there were some things there early in the game you were able to do. Do you feel like your team, your quarterback, Josiah Wilkie in particular, and some of that RPO action, do you feel like he's making the right reads most of the time, that he's done a good job of that to this point?
Yeah, we feel like he makes the right reads for the most part. Obviously, when you're, running an RPO style of offense, you got to live and die by with what your quarterback does, and we're willing to do that. Being a sophomore, things are moving really fast for him, but we have full faith in him moving forward, and we're excited to see how he continues to grow within this offense.
What have your thoughts been on your offensive line to this point? You've got some veterans, you've got some size and experience up there on the front. You've also got some young guys trying to work in as well. What do you need to see from them as they continue to grow?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say I'm thoroughly impressed with their play this year. Obviously, being a lineman, I would love for them to be more physical up front. But technique-wise, they've grown so much throughout this year. But our biggest thing up front is we got to be more physical. Some of the kids, they haven't had the proper coaching growing up and things like that, so they're just learning the game and the aspects of it. But as long as they continue to get more physical and keep their technique, they'll be perfectly fine.
Trey Parker is the head coach of the Topeka West Chargers. Trey, best of luck against Lansing this week.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
That was Trey Parker. Again, that game at Hummer Sports Park kicking off at 7 o'clock tonight. Also in action tonight, the Washburn Rural Junior Blues. They're 2-1 on the year, playing a very good Blue Valley Northwest team who is also 2-1 out in the KC metro area tonight. Here's my chat with Steve Bueller, the rural head coach. Steve, a loss at the hands of the defending state champions out of Missouri, Platte County, and you played them tough. You were competitive throughout the game. They were able to pull away late, but what did you feel like your team executed best that allowed you to make that a ball game for the better part of the 48 minutes?
Well, we've kind of hung our hat on our offense the last couple of weeks of the first 3 weeks of the season, and I thought our offense did a really nice job, being able to move the football, make some big plays. Nate Selm, our senior wide receiver, had a fantastic game, made some great catches on top of great runs after he caught the ball. But I thought our offense did a really nice job of controlling the ball there in the late first quarter, second quarter, when we made a little bit of a run. We were hoping to score coming out of halftime when we got the ball. We drove the ball a little bit, but didn't make it a 7-point ball game. I think that kind of turned everything in the second half. I think if we could have pulled within 7, I think would have given us a little bit more air in ourselves and be able to withstand a little bit of their pressure.
Were there some things you felt like you maybe left on the table that you could have executed better, or were some of the issues in that game just down to Jimmy's and Joe's deficit against a team with a bunch of Division I prospects?
Yeah, there was a lot of Jimmy's and Joe's situations going on with that team. That team is probably, if not the best, one of the best that I've ever coached against in my 28 years of being a head coach. But on the flip side of it, I thought we played a little tentative coming out at the beginning of the game defensively. We got better as the game went along, but I couldn't put my thumb on it on whether it was just nerves and who we were playing or a little starstruck or whatever it might have been. I was happy that we improved on that part as the game went along, but I felt we kind of got out of the gate a little slow on defense, which put a lot of pressure on us, and especially with their offense. I guess if you want to take a silver lining out of it, we made a punt twice, and that's the first time they've had to punt twice in a game in I don't know how many weeks. So, I think we got better as we went, but I was a little disappointed in how we opened the game.
Moving on to your next opponent, it's Blue Valley Northwest on the road. And speaking of Jimmy's and Joe's, they had 2 Division I tackles on their offensive line last year. One of them ended up at Michigan, a 5-star kid, Andrew Babalola. They don't have those guys this year, but what do the Huskies have this year that is going to test you?
They've got a lot of really good skill kids, both on offense and defense. Got a really good middle linebacker on their defensive side that kind of patrols the inside. They play fast. They're a little different than some of the other Kansas City schools. Some of the other Kansas City schools are more of a grind and be physical kind of program. They like to spread it, and they got a lot of really good skilled guys on the offensive side. A little bit young, but they're experienced, and so we're going to have to learn how to play in space a little bit better than we did last Friday.
What things will you hope to be able to do to go and set a tone on the road in this game, particularly, playing away from home and knowing it's your final tune-up before Centennial League play? What will be important for you to come out of the gate and do well?
I think we just have to approach every game for our group as trying to be the most physical team on the field and try to play extremely hard and be hard-nosed football players. It paid off for us the first couple of games of the season. I thought it was a big factor in us getting back in the game against Platte County, but playing teams like Blue Valley Northwest and Blue Valley and Platte County, we're not going to be the most talented team on the field. We're not going to be the biggest or the fastest. We just have to be the tougher one, and I think our kids have responded to that so far, and I think that's going to be kind of our recipe for our success this year. So the big thing for us is coming out and just letting them know that we're around and we're going to play 4 full quarters and give ourselves a chance at the end.
Steve Bueller is the head coach of the Washburn Rural Junior Blues. Steve, best of luck against the Huskies.
Thanks, Dan.
That was Steve Bueller. Again, that is part 1 of the 580 Preps Coaches Club. We'll have part 2 with the other city coaches whose games are Friday night coming up at tomorrow's 580 Sports Talk. We'll take a break, come back with a final word to wrap up today's show after this. for a final word on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. Spencer Dupuis, lay it on me.
Final word for me, not sports related today, but I really take for granted a shower because I can just feel it right now. I just feel gross. I used a washcloth and soap and stuff.
The bird bath.
Yeah, I just feel gross.
Is that the name for it? You can't say on the radio.
Yeah. And the guy said, just wait 24 hours. He left my apartment at 10:05. I'm gonna say like 22 hours. We should be fine. So I can take one tomorrow morning because I don't want to be stinky.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Hey, if not, there's always I think there's a Love's there off of you might have some showers. I mean, look, if it were me, I can't function if I don't shower in the morning. So shout out to you for being a functional adult.
Yeah.
I cannot function unless I have showered in the morning. I can't do it. So that is but that is just me. Final word for me today. I'm leaning toward picking the Chiefs. We'll give our picks on tomorrow's edition of 580 Sports Talk, but I'm leaning toward picking the Chiefs to beat the Ravens on Sunday. And one of the reasons I'm leaning towards doing it is I don't think that this Ravens offense is going to just stack points on this Chiefs defense. I think the Chiefs are good enough at the back end that they can spy Lamar Jackson. I think they're good enough against the run that they can limit Derrick Henry's big gains and keep him in check. I think this matchup is a good one for the Chiefs. The more I think about it, the more I've looked at it this week. We'll have our Big Football Friday edition of the show tomorrow from 3 until 6. For Spencer, I'm Dan. This was 580 Sports Talk. Good night.